All right, I'm Henry Payne, auto columnist for the Detroit News, and we are here at the 2019 Detroit Auto Show. It's a diminished show from what we've seen in years past. All the European luxury automakers have gone away this year, but there's still a lot of great toys here on the floor. Let's go take a tour. All right, here we go. So we're in the Ford displays. You come right into Hall A. One of the first displays here in the show, and it's a spectacular display. It's all new this year. They've taken away the second floor, and instead they put in a virtual reality ride you can take with the new Ford Explorer. They put in rope nets for the kids, so you can just park your kids at the rope nets, and they'll play there all day. But let's head over here to the Ford Explorer, which is all new for 2020. So here in the back of the exhibit is the Ford Explorer, which is a big deal for Ford. This is their three-row SUV, best-selling three-row SUV of all time. And it's all new from the ground up. You'll notice the proportions here, the way they built this on a rear-wheel drive chassis. So you can get the car in rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, but by putting it on a rear-wheel drive chassis, you see you got these shorter overhangs up front. It's really, really pretty car. And the grille here is, if it looks a little bit like a Range Rover, that's intentional because they want to give it an upscale look. This car has a lot of tech on the inside that would make a Range Rover jealous. For example, this car will park itself, which is, you can't find this technology anywhere in luxury, but if you go inside and you press a button on the steering wheel, this car will park itself. You never have to touch the steering wheel, never have to touch the brakes. In back, it's easy for the kids to get into because they've developed a second row seat that's got one touch button. You touch the button, the seat slides and tilts forward, and the kiddies can jump right in. So from a three-row family SUV, we head over here to one of the stars of the show, and this is the Ford Mustang GT500, most powerful Mustang ever made. We don't have the final specs on this, but it's going to be over 700 horsepower, thinking maybe 720 horsepower. Everything on this car is new from the A-pillar forward, because they had to carve out these bigger air intakes in order to feed the beast inside. This is a supercharged 5.2 liter V8 engine. It's not going to be the flat plane crank like the GT350, because they're getting the power not through high revs but through the supercharger. But this thing really makes a mean sound. And then you see, this is the track edition. You see all this added airfoils underneath for downforce, and on the back is a big carbon fiber rear wing. So you can tell that for the GT500 traditionally has been a dragster, but what they've done, because they really want to go after the Camaro ZL1, is they put the GT500 on the same chassis, the same suspension as the GT350, which is their track car. So with 700 horsepower and all this good suspension geometry, they're going to go after lap times that only the Camaro ZL1 has been capable of. So across from the Ford and the Ram exhibit this year, this used to be Mazda territory, Nissan, Infiniti. You'll notice that has all changed. Those automakers have been moved over to fill the big gaping holes in the Cobo floor where the European manufacturers used to be. So in place of it is RK Rally, which are some of these exotic cars that you see right here. These are enthusiasts who all get together and drive cross country. So you see BMW M3s and hopped up Nissan Zs. So a lot of nice eye candy here. But these are all owner cars. Owners brought these cars in. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, a cross-country rally, then this is, you can sign up for this GK Rally. On the other side of the ropes from the GK Rally is NV Auto Group, which is aptly named. This is one of the biggest exotic car dealers in all of Metro Detroit. And they've just laid down carpet for these guys. All these cars are for sale, and these are the true exotics. I mean, you can only kind of see this over in the casino on Saturday night at the gallery before the show. So it's kind of neat to have these cars out here. You got Porsche 911s, Bentleys, Rolls Royces, and my favorite row is over here where you see the scissor door cars. The BMW i8 all lined up here together. Next to a McLaren 570 and then a Lamborghini. I think that's a Gallardo there at the end. So pretty good eye candy here, but again, an indication of how much hollower the show is this year, that they've had to bring this group up from the basement. They exhibited in the basement for the last 2 years. Now they're on the main floor and showing off the goods. All right, so now over in the Ram display, and the Fiat Chrysler display is always great. Lots of muscle over in Dodge. You got the fun little Fiats over there, but the real highlight of the year for Ram is the all-new 2500 and 3500 heavy-duty trucks. This follows on the success of the Ram 1500, which is their light-duty that they introduced last year, just won the North American Truck of the Year, and so now they come in with the 2500 and 3500 trucks, and these things are beasts. This is the Power Wagon, which is the off-road version, and then over here, just behind us, is the 3500. And this is the headliner of the show. This is the most powerful truck ever built, 1,000 pound-feet of torque coming from its 6.7 liter Cummins diesel engine. And that's enough torque to tow 35,000 pounds. So if you got anything laying around the house that weighs 35,000 pounds, this big 3500 dually is the truck you want. But inside, it's just as nice as its driveline spec sheet. Really pretty car inside. Very quiet, 10 decibels quieter than the last generation. And it's got that nice big Tesla-like screen, which is one of the signatures of this new Ram truck. A lot of leather. Guys get into this car and they don't want to get out. All right, so this is we're over in the off-road area for the Kia Telluride. This is in the back of Cobo. This is new to Cobo. Used to have to go to like the Chicago show and go see these kind of interactive displays. This is something that the Detroit show is going to be emphasizing for 2020. When they move to June, they move outside. They're going to do a lot more of these interactive displays. All right, this is the Kia Telluride ride experience, which is different for the 2019 show. Never seen anything like this inside Cobo. And the Kia's never seen anything like a Telluride either. This is an off-road, 3-row SUV, goes right after the Jeep Wagoneer and comes to market a year before the Jeep Wagoneer. So the Jeep guys got something to compete against. Very stylish, good-looking thing, and gets over the bumps there pretty good too, as you can tell. Looking ahead to the 2020 auto show, which moves to June, this is the sort of thing the show wants to do. They want to do more experiential rides like this, both inside and outside Cobo. All right, way back here in the northwest corner of the Detroit Auto Show is the Toyota Stan, and this is one of the showstoppers of the show. This is the long-awaited Toyota Supra. For those of you who have been coming to Detroit Auto Shows for a while, we saw the concept for this way back in 2014, and the production car doesn't look a whole lot different. It's really exciting. It's very, very distinct in its styling, and this thing's going to start about $50,000 and go right after the Porsche Boxster, Porsche Cayman. Racy looking thing. For the Supra, of course, is a famous badge in the Toyota lineup. We haven't seen one in about 20 years. But what's different about this is you can see its dimensions. It's much smaller than the last Supra, much lighter, doesn't have the big horsepower. This is much nimbler track car. And when they introduced this thing at the media conference, I have never seen so many people at a Toyota media conference. So Toyota knew what they were doing in coming to Detroit and showing this kind of performance car. Detroit's a great place to show new trucks, to show new sports cars, and this Toyota Supra is one of the hits of the show, along with the Ram 3500 heavy-duty truck and the Mustang GT500. Right below the Toyota stand at the show is their luxury brand, Lexus. And there's kind of a cool pair of cars here on the back wall. The first is an LC Convertible concept. It's really concept and name only. You've seen this car before in the LC 500, which is the sexiest sports car that Lexus has ever seen. It's right over here. This red car over here is the coupe version, and has this really sexy V8 engine in it. And so you stick that V8 engine in this convertible concept over here, and put the top down, and that's really going to sound sweet. Right next to the LC 500 convertible is a much meaner looking beast, and this is the RC F Coupe. And Lexus has really dialed up the performance in recent years, not only with a crazy looking styling, but they're stuffing these things with V8 engines, really going after the BMW M3 and the Audi RS models. This thing has been track tested at Nürburgring, puts up some impressive times. As you can see with all the carbon fiber roof, the big carbon fiber wing on the back, the big dual quad exhaust tips. This is a mean machine, and this is meant for the track. It's a long way from the old soft riding Lexus LS sedans that debuted here about 25 years ago. For veterans of the auto show, this aisle is where the European luxury used to be. We're standing in the space where the Porsche exhibit used to be. Right down this way was BMW, was Jaguar Land Rover. All of those manufacturers are gone from the show this year. The only luxury European manufacturer left is Alfa Romeo, which is right over here in the middle. And of course, the reason they're here is because they're owned by Fiat Chrysler. So you got all this territory now to fill. And so you turn around and there's some cool stuff they brought in here, and it's not necessarily all automotive. The coolest thing that's displaying over here, a lot of little hybrid EV cars, but I love this Surefly Octocopter, which as its name suggests, these are the test pilots actually.
Just the engineers done.
Okay. Yeah, I know these guys have been up in this thing. This is basically a two-seat drone. So all 8 of these props are each operated by an electric motor. And so none of that complicated yaw that you get in a normal Huey chopper. Each one of these props, just like a drone, can be tuned to fly this thing very precisely. As you can see, it looks very production ready, and that's because this is only one of 2 manufacturers that is in the process of FAA certification in bringing a hybrid electric helicopter to market. So it's going to run on a normal gas engine, but if there's any sort of emergency, unlike any other chopper out there, if the gas engine fails, it just reverts over to battery power and keeps on going. So if you want a helicopter that maneuvers like a drone, this is going to be your bag. All right, we're over here at the Lincoln display, and one of the showstoppers this year is going to be this Lincoln Continental with suicide doors. And this is for the 80th anniversary of Lincoln, so they're only going to make 80 of them. So if you want it, you better get in now. But these are the only suicide doors you'll see in production other than Rolls-Royce. So very unique looking thing. It's on the Lincoln Continental black label trim, so you get all the cool stuff inside. Get the 30-way seats. These beautiful aviation wheels. It's all decked out in the black label look. But in order to get those suicide doors, they had to extend the wheelbase a little bit. Had to go to a specialty coach manufacturer to get it done. So this is really a special piece of work, and this is going to have a lot of people around it all show long. I always love coming to the Cadillac exhibit because these guys have really raised their game in recent years and gone racing, big time racing. So this is the winning Cadillac from last year's IMSA prototype series. And this is state-of-the-art racing manufacturing. You'll see this car running again at the 24-hour Le Mans at the end of this month. And if you check out, of course, the rear wing, this is a lot different rear wing than the classic old, the classic fins on the back of a 1959 Cadillac. But just in case you want to see what an old 59 looks like, right above the race car is this big 59 Cadillac. So this is one of the neatest spots in the show, contrasting the old Cadillac with the new performance Cadillac. But as much fun as race cars are, these manufacturers got to make their money in SUVs, and this is a big deal for Cadillac. the all-new XT6. They're introducing it at this show. This is one of the big introductions for this show. And it's the first three-row Cadillac that the brand has done, other than the Escalade. The Escalade sits on a truck chassis. The XT6 rests on a unibody chassis. Actually shares the chassis with the XT5, which is the mid-size SUV below it. But through some really clever engineering, they've been able to carve out a pretty good size third row in this thing. It's got 30 inches of rear leg room, which means that I can fit in it with my 6'5" frame. So a big roomy thing, has the classic Cadillac styling, and the styling actually, because it's so sculpted and upright, it actually really fits a three-row SUV. You can see these vertical lights up on the front corner of the car. This big grille was derived from the Scala concept, one of the prettier concepts that Cadillac's ever made. And then that vertical theme continues in the back of the car and gives the passengers really good headroom. So nicely crafted SUV, and it should do well in the market. Cadillac is coming in with their first three-row SUV, and not based on a truck chassis. And guess what? Lincoln is doing the same thing. So you know the Lincoln Navigator, the huge truck-based beast that has competed against the Cadillac Escalade. This is Lincoln's three-row unibody SUV. Beautiful thing. We all call it the Navigator Junior. We saw the concept a couple years ago in New York, and it's really done a nice job. Again, if you remember the Ford Explorer, which is based on a rear-wheel drive base chassis. This is the same chassis that underlies the Ford Explorer, but brings in the beautiful new Lincoln design, these Aviator wheels, which are beautifully done. And then inside, you get all that tech that the Lincoln Continental brought into the luxury business. The 30-way seats, the beautiful tablet-like screen, really nice soft touch materials inside. This is a really nicely executed SUV, and I think this car, probably more than any other, tells you that Lincoln is back as a luxury brand. As nice as the Lincoln Continental is, nobody's buying sedans these days. This is what they're looking for, this is what they're buying, and the Lincoln Aviator is coming into the market just the right time. And one other thing to add, they're doing a hybrid version of this car, and it is going to be the most powerful hybrid in the segment. So even on a performance basis, this Aviator will outperform BMW and Mercedes. All right, well, say right here in front of the VW display, which is where the old Mercedes display used to be, is an intriguing little car. Why are they showing this old VW Beetle? Well, this is going to be the last year that VW is going to produce the Bug. The famous Bug is going away, maybe the best-selling vehicle of all time. So on the display they got this classic old car, and then right behind it is the final edition car. So if you want a final edition VW Beetle, this is it. It's a nice looking thing, it's all tricked out, got a nice convertible hood on it, special final edition wheels, and even get a little aerofoil in the back if you want to go fast like Herbie the Love Bug. But take a long look, because this is the last VW Beetle you're going to see coming to market for a long time. So Chevy this year didn't show anything really big at the show. They really wanted to leave this show to Cadillac, because it's really important that Cadillac get a foothold in the market with that new XT6 SUV. But there is a new Blazer that you haven't seen before on the show floor. And that's this Chevy Blazer over here, bringing back that iconic nameplate, and it's a nice looking thing. If you're familiar with a Ford Edge, which is a stylish two-row SUV, then this Blazer is going to be going right after it. There are really only three vehicles in the market: the Ford Edge, the Nissan Murano, and this Blazer. And what I really like about it, and you can't see as it rotates on the stand here, but the interior looks just like a Camaro, and so it's got the It's got the rotary air vents on the console like a Camaro. Really love the interior on this thing. Really nice looking Chevy, and I figure this will do well, particularly for folks who are empty nesters, have lost their kids. They don't need the 3-row SUV, but they still like something big and substantial. This is going to be the vehicle for them. All right, so we're going to wind up the show here at the Chevy Stan. We're back where we started, right across from Ford, where the new Ford Mustang GT500 is. And of course, that Mustang is aimed straight at this thing. This is Camaro. It's the eternal battle between Camaro and Mustang. And Camaro had a tough year. I mean, this chassis on this car is the best chassis in muscle car. It's based on the same chassis as a Cadillac XT6, really maneuverable car, but the styling just hasn't caught on with customers. And so Camaro has really fiddled with the front end styling. They've done a lot of different iterations of this styling to try to make it more appealing to customers, but I think fundamentally it's just that the interior room, it looks nice from outside with that real tight greenhouse, but once you're inside the car, folks have a real hard time seeing out. And so the Mustang has really beat up on Camaro in sales, and it's not going to get any easier with that GT500. And then right across the aisle from the Camaro is the Corvette ZR1. This is the finest front-engine Corvette ever built, and this is the last front-engine Corvette we're going to see introduced at an auto show. Next year, we're going to see on this stand a mid-engine Corvette. Huge change for this brand. We're probably going to see the mid-engine Corvette at a separate event somewhere in the United States this spring. But this is quite a car, from the big carbon fiber rear wing to that enormous bulge in the hood, which contains a 750 horsepower supercharged V8 underneath. This is the limit of the front engine Corvette, and the next time you see a new Corvette, it's going to have an engine behind the driver. This is Henry Payne of the Detroit News, auto columnist. Thanks for joining us today on the floor. Come down here for public days, spend some time. It's a great place to bring the family. Take the kids to the Ford ropes course. Take them to see the Surefly Octocopter. But in between, of course, take them to see all these great toys, from Mustangs to Toyota Supras to the suicide door Lincoln.